interest.
Good morning. You're listening to Ammar and live on our weekly radio show on Spice FM. Apologies if you hear me keep saying this. It's only because for whatever strange reason our office wasn't recording the show this morning. Seems to have had some technical issues for whatever reason. So apologies if you only get half a show. But yeah, interest rates, Jack, you were saying?
Yeah, interest rates. Islamically, you're prohibited from receiving interest and paying interest. Now, if you imagine that you kind of buy something within your means, and you go back to and this is an interesting comparison, you go back to the 60s, when, a lot of the first generation Asians came into the UK, and I know stories of my own family members purchased a house for £600. They used to earn £20 a week. We've mentioned this on air before. That's £1,200 a year. They worked 6 months, saved 600 quid. They were able to pay for the full property in one-off and be an owner-occupied property owner, and 6 months' earnings was sufficient to get a reasonable property. And that's how business was done. Now, obviously, if you compare that to today, how many years would you need to work to be able to pay for the property that you buy? Do they say that they'll only mortgage you if you're earning 4 times your salary? So
they pulled hundreds of deals. So on Tuesday and Wednesday, the vast majority of high street lenders.
Yeah, and that's even if your deals were in place, they actually pull those deals.
Yeah, well, I'm just looking at an article here. So Rabia, a young first-time buyer, has challenged a government minister after her initial mortgage offer of 4.5% interest was withdrawn and replaced with a 10.4% deal.
Well, Rabia would have to pull out of that deal, right? So, because she's not going to be able to afford that, because that 4.5% was based on her calculations in terms of salaries and this, that, and the other. And not going to affect the person that's looking to sell the house. They can't sell that house anymore. If they go and put the house back on the market, they're not going to get the same money that they had initially agreed, because anyone new coming to the market to buy that property, Rabia is going to have to go back to the person that she's buying the property from and say, well, hold on, mate. I have to make an offer £40,000 less, because it's not stacking up. So the consequences of that, Ma, you know a lot better than me, is going to be so widespread. And surely we're entering a downturn in property prices.
Without a doubt.
And an upturn in repossessions, and those that who
if you've got money, it's a good time to be sat on money. Because inevitably it's going to lead to a lot more things coming on the market, and it's very going to be sort of demand led, whereas up until now it was supply led. So it was, if you were selling something, you were in a really strong position. Now it's, if you're buying something, you're in a strong position.
And that's just done over one mini budget.
Yeah, well, you see it. Well, I think there's a component. It has been, and actually, if you reflect now, as of this morning, the pound is where it was before the mini budget, right? So for me, using conspiracy theories and things like that, someone just wanted to make a lot of money in a very short period of time. What do? Well, you devalue the pound and short it. So you buy dollars, and then you buy pounds at a particular rate. Like, as in, if you bought the pound on Friday night or whatever it is, and you bought it at whatever it was on Monday, by this time you've generated quite a significant return. And if you use hedging and spread methodologies, you're getting a 500 to 1 ratio. So if it was, if for example, it had devalued by 5%, but you times that by 500 as a hedge fund, you've done all right.
And that's with like a few million squid.
Yeah, well, even with a few hundred quid.
Yeah.
Even with a few £100, you would have made a few thousand.
I need to meet someone that knows about this.
And I know someone who knows about this. But yeah, and it's incredible to see the long and the short, right, of trading, and where if you can get that ratio, and it's there, it's 500 to 1. So as long as you can sort of, you might lose a little bit here and there, but overall returns are like ridiculous. I mean, it's risky, but as long as you keep it low and manage and maintain your risks and things like that, it's gambling, isn't it? That's what it is. But actually, for those that are in the know, so there was an allegation and suggestion that the mini budget had been leaked, the tax had been leaked a few days beforehand, which then enabled people to short the pound. But if you're going to short the pound, that's not economics, that's corruption. That's what that is.
Well, of course.
So now the pound's back to where it was as of sort of before the mini budget. So naturally, the cost of goods on, as no one can really argue, well, the pound's not worth so as much now because of X, Y, Z. I think for me, the budget was it the right thing, the wrong thing? Any type of economic decision at this scale, you're not going to get a result the next day. So it's really easy for political parties to jump on the bandwagon and go, oh, look what they've done, it's struggling and da-da-da. It's really sort of, opportunism is what it is. So 3 points ahead of the Tories because of Keir Starmer doing his speech and all of that type of thing. It's like likelihood is that'll change in the next week or two. I feel as if a lot of people who are in decision-making positions of power don't necessarily truly understand the people at our level and the impact of what they are doing and how they're doing it.
Don't really care. They make out as though that they care, but I feel more and more, as I'm beginning to understand the world more and more, the more I realize and feel as though that the governments are not there for the people, unfortunately, which is the whole essence of the structure and their position that they're in place to fulfill. I think they're just there to serve the needs of the corporate organizations, the powerful corporate organizations that have such an influence in the decisions that they make. I mean, if you put it in context, the decision that they made and the changes in the budget, whilst it affects us, it might affect us from whether we buy, on a very small scale, well, shall I go and buy these pairs of jeans and they're about £5 more, they're £10 more. The consequences to those big corporations on these decisions, imagine them, it's in the millions and the billions. So of course they're going to be more in the ear of that particular person in power. They're going to be probably part of some forum or body that are out there that specialize in certain subjects. They could be funding the parties, so they've got more allegiance to them. So there's so many factors that they take into consideration, and unfortunately, the fact of doing the best for serving the people, I don't think that's high priority. And that seems to be not just in our government, Ammar. I think it seems to be the case in other like-minded governments around the world.
I think it's interesting, right? In Italy, you've got like the far right.
They say she's branded as being far right.
Yeah, but I think that's of her own self.
But what is far right about an individual who the speeches, if you go on the speeches that she's made, she absolutely obliterated Macron. And she said, well, Macron, you're criticizing me, but you're the one that has stolen the petroleum from Mali, 30–40% of it, because you need it for your new food on their tables. And you feel that that's justification. We're not going to take any, this is her words, we're not going to take any criticism of you, Macron, because you're a bad man.
Well, everyone takes advantage of everyone.
Yeah, so I'm just saying what she's, and personally, I think she's got a very, very valid point. She's been very, very brave to come out and even talk about this, because there seems to be there seems to be, oh, you keep quiet about, you know, things that we do as a collective. So you're let's not raise this to the surface, and you don't raise it to the surface, and you don't raise it to the surface, and we do all of these things below the ground without it being public knowledge or being too high profile. And she's obviously just knows about this. She's brought it to the fore. And I actually like to hear things like that, because it shows the true nature of Macron and what he does. So you're not in a position to criticize Minister Macron, because look at who you are. She also made a really important point about the whole thing that's happening in society, where it seems to be all about barcodes and this and that. And she said, well, look, you know, what's wrong with me wanting to keep my values and believe in God? What's wrong with me wanting to be a woman? What's wrong with me wanting to define myself as a mother? What's wrong with me defining myself as a daughter, instead of me being from this group or that group, and I'm his or her or this or that? And she said that's what creates weaker societies. So I think, again, I don't personally think that's very far.
I agree with you absolutely. As in, I don't know, but I equally don't probably truly know what far right means.
I think, from my understanding of far right, is that you're a bit of a racist.
I thought that was far left.
Well, you're racist on that side, and you're racist on this side.
So what?
Far right, isn't it? It's far right, is it not?
Is it not where it's all about the state?
Tom Robinson.
They're far right, the extreme right wing of a political party. While the far right may gain some seats, it is far from going further. Belonging to or representing the views of the extreme right wing of a political party. Right-wing politics are generally characterized by the view that certain social orders and hierarchies are inevitable, natural, normal, or desirable, typically supporting this position on the basis of natural law, economics, authority, or tradition. Still don't know what that means, but ultimately, I think what the right is, well, is right not all around country, state, like Hitler? Is that?
Yeah, I think so. I think left is more like they used to term Jeremy Corbyn as
lefty.
Those are people of the people.
Yeah, as in the far. It was all about giving everything away.
It was
Socialist.
Yeah, it was.
And whereas far right is elitist, opportunist, like type of thing. Well, anyway, I probably have views on either side. Yeah, very much so. Without a doubt. Yeah, that's all.
I'm like a lefty person.
Yeah, you're a proper lefty. Yeah.
We're left poor and you're the rich.
I don't think right's rich and left's
the right's rich and the left is poor.
No, I don't think so. Well, in which case, I'm like fell off the edge. That's what I have. The far left is the farthest left is far away. You know, a galaxy far away. Anyway, good on it. I think we need more people to think about their own places, spaces, things like that, and be defenders of the people. And the Avengers they're good. I really like Avengers.
It's going to be like partying a lot, because Silvio Berlusconi is like in her party.
The boom boom.
Yeah. The boom. The not some boom boom, something else. The bunga bunga parties.
Bunga.
So yeah. So she's.
Were we invited to that?
No, but it would be nice to meet the new PM of Italy. But So Berlusconi, I think because it's a new party, it's only been formed for 10 years. So I think Berlusconi is in her party as well.
Yeah, they've had a bit of a coalition, which is great, right? I think coalitions bring about a slightly different dynamic in that you have to stop and think the impact of what you're proposing and justify it more broadly. So there's some merit in that, I believe. But coming back to your points around, world affairs and world state and things like that, yeah, we're just living in a very, very, very challenging environment, right? But I was down at the Yabba Awards. Anyway, I need to do a quick advert for Asian Business Connections. Asian Business Connections 2022 Awards return this year on October the 20th at the Gosforth Hotel. Once again, we will be celebrating the significant and sustained impact of the Asian community across the public and private and third sectors. With over 100 nominations already received, if you have someone that you feel has gone that extra mile, then please do nominate them. And if you would like to secure one of the last few remaining seats to this incredible celebration of inclusion and diversity and bringing the whole community together, then do contact Asian Business Connections. That's www.abconnections.org, and check out and register online. And we will be giving away a few tickets on this show and on the breakfast show on Spice FM.
Excellent, amazing.
Yeah, so I went down to Yabba, the Yorkshire Asian Business Awards, and I've had a bit of a traumatic week, Jeff. I'd like to share it with you because it was nice that you managed to get away. How was it though? We didn't really finish that part of the conversation. When did you fly?
Well, that's such a long story in itself.
Yeah, come on then.
But the flight was already set weeks ago, and it happened to be.
Why didn't you tell me that?
On the day of the funeral, of Her Majesty's funeral.
Oh, so you were going on the 19th?
Yeah.
And coming back when?
Coming back a week later.
Right.
So basically, we were going on the 19th.
Monday.
From 5 o'clock.
5 p.m.
5 p.m. from Newcastle to London and London to Dubai, because it was a BA flight.
Yeah, right, okay.
So
why did you decide to go BA?
I think the wifey wanted to organise all of that.
Okay.
There was certain
Terminal 5, obviously.
Yeah. So but
far right.
The
farthest right.
The 5 o'clock didn't leave and didn't get into London until 8:50. The connection flight was 9:10. So everyone.
9:10.
And the irony was, we landed in Heathrow at 8:15.
Right.
But someone lost the key to open the door.
To the
baggage door or something.
No.
Yeah. So we were sat there for 40 minutes. So we got out and we missed the connecting flight. Everyone did.
When was this?
On the Monday.
On the 19th?
Yeah. So
on the actual 19th of on the Queen's funeral, you'd flown to London.
Yeah. So the flight from London, flight to London from Newcastle was at 5 o'clock. That got delayed. It got there, let's say 9 o'clock. So it got there in 4 hours, and it should take 45 minutes. So we missed the connecting flight. They put us up at the hotel, wait for a bus to take us to the hotel and ABC and do all that rigmarole, all that you have with all of that stuff. And so then we took the next flight the next day.
On the Tuesday?
On the Tuesday.
Right.
So obviously the hotel that we're staying at, we've lost a day at the hotel.
Right.
It's not cheap. So
and where did you stay?
At the Mandarin.
Any good?
Yeah, very nice.
Where on the Palm was it? Where is it?
No, it's in Jumeirah one.
Right.
So Dubai, obviously it's a very evolving city. But still to this, I think the hub of the Dubai, downtown Dubai is where the Burj Al Khalifa is.
Right.
Which is the tallest building in Dubai. You know, the one that they couldn't finish off about 10 years ago, and they had to name it after the Sheikh in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Because he gave them a few quid to finish it off.
Yeah.
That's downtown Dubai, where it's probably the hub, and the city kind of expands from there. But yeah, it was nice weather, nice break. But you know, flying I think anyone that's flying at the moment, you have to be prepared to be very, very patient and give yourself lots of extra time, because I think nothing's running
Really?
like clockwork as it used to do. No, definitely not. And I think meeting people on the travels and speaking to people who are frequent flyers, they're all saying the same thing.
Really?
So there's something that's happened, obviously.
Well, they're just staffing is the biggest issue, right? They got short of all the staff. BA went through a whole range of redundancies and whatever else. Everybody, everywhere, every single in-person organization in the airline managed to get short of like 50, 60% of their staff. Everyone's come back, but that then has meant a huge backlog in recruitment, suitable recruitment, and then security, because it's potentially, it takes anywhere up to 12 to 18 weeks to do security checks on anyone. So you can't start anyone straight away.
Yeah.
So there's that then has an ongoing impact. That's why the FAA and all of the regulatory authorities and whatever else, they said you can't have any more flights out of Heathrow, full stop. As in they curbed all of the flights. So yeah, it is traumatic.
I mean,
so how was it there?
Are
you feeling anything there? Or is there?
I think that there's a few things that Dubai people will always tell you, and you can feel. It's a very, very cosmopolitan city. There's only 20% Emiratis there, which is the indigenous people.
Yeah.
Beyond that, it's people that have decided and picked Dubai to go and settle in and live and have a career there, and decide to bring their kids up there. The weather is, I think it's beautiful weather, but I think in the summer months it's extreme. But generally, the time that we went, we thought it was really, really nice and warm. It's very, very clean. It's incredibly safe. I think they are saying that Dubai is the safest city in the world, and I felt that 100%.
Did you?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and then they're comparing themselves to cities like New York and Hong Kong, Beijing, London. And if you put all of those things in context, in terms of safety, it is absolutely one of the safest countries in the world. It's very, very organized, very, very efficient. The metro lines, the infrastructure is obviously because it's been planned as opposed to organically growing, so they can think about the size of the roads and this, that, and the other. So all of those things I felt was really, really nice. But then what I did also like, along with all the luxuries that are there, and you've got the world's richest people, and you can go and spend whatever you want in the most exclusive establishments. We went to a place called Fatwa, which is Satwa with an S.
That would have been so funny.
Satwa with an S. It was like being in the hood. So you had a lot of multicultural groups there. So you had the Indians there, you had the Pakistanis there, you had the Bengalis there, you had the Filipinos there, and it was it was like a poor part of the city, but it wasn't too far away from downtown. And interestingly, everyone was there just freely walking around in their cultural attire, and I thought that was really nice, because you need to have that, because they are the people that actually make this happen in terms of the workforce, but they've got their own little community, and you can go there and have a meal for 20 quid and get a full meal. So it's nice to have that.
That's good.
Along with all the kind of the other stream of that. So the only thing that's probably missing in Dubai is probably there's a lack of soul. You felt there was not a soul there.
Yeah, there's not. There's no like sort of heart to it.
Yeah, the heart comes from the people, doesn't it, Ammar? I mean, if you compare that to Istanbul, you have the Turks there in abundance. You have the indigenous people, and you have their cultures are there ingrained within the city. That is the soul of that city, isn't it?
Of course it is.
When you go to London, you have the everything that's true to original London, the accent, the people. You go to the posh places, the hats, the clothing, the attire, the shops, the way they speak, the history of it. And that's the soul of that city, and that's why we love it so much. I think in Dubai you do lack that, but it was interesting to see the multiculturalism in hotels, because you have the ladies that are coming in with the burqas, having an afternoon tea. You have the Westerners coming in with their mini skirts. and walking around with their bathing suits. You have the Arabs with their the tubes, isn't the tobe? What do you call it?
Thobe.
The tobes. But then they're doing business with a suited man, and I'm sitting analysing all of this and just thinking, oh, this is like really nice because it's a certain group of people, a little bit well-to-do with a bit of money. There doesn't seem to be any essence of any type of what's the word? There's no discrimination. There's no kind of color. There's no differences. It's just nice that everyone is there from all these different backgrounds, but everyone just
and it's inclusive.
It's very, very inclusive.
Right.
And I thought I really liked it. There was no prejudice. Maybe it's a prejudice to do with, oh well, he's like really rich or he's not rich or whatever, but nothing to do with color or creed or background. And no one like looks at anyone in shock. You know, you don't.
Which is good.
Yeah, you don't look at the lady in the burqa in shock. You don't look at the girl with a bikini in shock. You know, and you kind of accept it. And so that shows me that everyone can accept everyone if it's done without any type of interference from. I think interference comes from groups and levels, you know, but genuinely people have heart and they have care and they have acceptance of each other, and I saw that in abundance. So I think it's a definitely interesting city with a lot of good things going on for sure. A lot of big businesses, like astounded level of development. I mean, you look at some of the things that they've done and think, wow, who's even got the foresight and the nous to even think of all of these things? They're so brave in terms of the development and the investments. I mean, just creating, you know, the palm, just creating that, and then that, because that wasn't big enough, they've got a bigger palm on that building. So it's 2 palms that they've got. And the prices just keep on going up and up and up and up.
It's but I think that will peter out somewhat,
of course.
And there's a whole range of issues and challenges associated with that. But no, good. I'm glad you managed to get away. It's really, really important that you go, and particularly Dubai and places like that. But yeah, I sadly suffered from COVID. Is what I did.
Yeah.
So last week, that very 19th or whatever it was, Zora wasn't well. So our 3-year-old daughter wasn't well, and she was a bit lethargic. And then my wife had received a message saying that COVID was going around the school. So we all tested, and it was like negative, but she sort of recovered. And then as the week got on, by the Wednesday, I was starting to feel a bit flu-ish and a sore throat. Thursday wasn't right, but done a test and negative. And Friday done a test and was positive Friday night. And then was like quite bad. My son and I both weren't well, so we just spent a lot of time sleeping and like sort of trying to recover, and you know was sort of on the cusp of feeling like really not well at all, to the point where you're like, oh my gosh, I hope I'm not going to feel the way that I did the first time I've got it. But no. And then interestingly, so school policy is 3 days after testing, they can come in. Doesn't matter whether they're testing positive or negative or whatever it is. So 3 days after, as long as they haven't got any symptoms and they're all right in themselves. So they all went back to school on Tuesday. And it was like, oh, everything's a bit normal. So I was testing and whatever else. And then yesterday, so it was a busy, hard week. And when you have no routine, you know, I wasn't getting up at 5 in training or whatever it was at all this week. And then yesterday, it was the Yorkshire Asian Business Association, and I was, you know, because obviously I was let down by my designated driver, and then it turned quite complicated. Because I needed to get to Bradford, and I'm very hesitant to drive on a night time because I'm just old now. So anyway, I drove, and I'm sort of handing my car back because it's like it's like the way the economy is and everything else. So my wife's sort of swapped a very big car for a Mini. So we now have a Mini, and now I'm going to hand my car back. And sadly, as I was driving to Durham, one of the scraped one of the wheels, sadly, which was like, oh yeah, that was like, give it back tomorrow. I was like, just and it was always in the back, and I never ever touch wood, as in
on a curb or something.
Well, it was sticking out, and the car came too close to me that way, and I was doing about 50 odd, so it was like, what do I do? And I just had to go, and I was like, as in, and nothing I could do. The car was too on my side, and the curb, obviously. So I think someone had hit the curb before, and it was sticking out.
Oh, right.
So I was like, I couldn't do anything. As in, and I was, so it's like, so I was a bit frustrated at that, and then drives to Durham, and I was like, funnily enough, I looked at a helicopter. Right? You wouldn't believe how competitive it is to get a helicopter. It was like 45 minutes from here to Bradford, but they don't fly at night. Like for this cheap one, which was always a bit scary.
I wouldn't get a cheap helicopter.
So I think it's just someone with like who's sort of turning the copter thing. Anyway, gets to Durham, leaves my car in Durham, drives with Andy to the awards, gets to Bradford, and like from Andy's house in a couple of hours. So it wasn't the end of the world. By that time, I'd been in the car for like 3 hours. Gets there, awards meant to finish at 11, and I'm like, you know what I'm like. I just were like, but it was good. It was a really good event. And Tommy Sander was so funny, so funny. He was like so on the edge, sort of like, and there was like sort of 350 people there celebrating. Really nice to come together and do all of those things. And then jumped in the car with that. Like we were meant to leave at dot on 11. We didn't. They didn't finish, so we left at 11:30. And I was already tired. I'm already exhausted. Pulls out of the there's like a roundabout next to the hotel. Andy pulls out, and a young lad just goes like crashes into the car.
Oh,
like undercuts, like and jumps out, and there's 3 kids, like 2 lads and a girl, and like he's got a vest on, and it's like 11:30, and it's -4, and I'm thinking, what a joke. And honestly, like it hit it. They must have been traveling at like 50 miles an hour, because it just went bang, as in the front end of Andy, their car. It was just, so that then was the journey back, right? And I'm just in a broken car, and then we're driving back, and the A1's closed.
Oh, God.
And there's no dive. So the first diversion says A1 closed 47 to 48. And the first diversion takes us like off, drives all the way around, 20 minutes detour to go one junction. The next junction, it sort of said A1 closed, but then it wasn't any diversion. So we then had to drive up through Yorkshire, through the back up the 19, and the fog, Jalf, was like, you couldn't see if you put his full beam on, right? It was like white, like nothing. And the low beam, so it was like that. So I'm like lying there, and I'm like I'm falling asleep, and then I'm thinking I've got to talk to Andy, and I'm going, so what's your favorite color? What's your favorite? And I was just talking to him, and I was just like, anyway, gets like, so a 2-hour journey ends up taking like 3 and a bit hours to Andy's house, gets to Durham, jumps in my car, thinks, right, well, it's going to be like 20, 30 minutes at that time of night. I'll just like, anyway, jumps in the car, drives up the A1, and it gets to just after Washington Services, and the A1's closed. So it didn't give us an option beforehand. I've got to turn off towards South Shields and drive all the way to the turning off for South Shields along the A194, come all the way back through Felling and everything and all of that. And it was just, that added another, so it took me another hour and a bit to get from there. So I got in this morning at 3 o'clock.
Oh, dear.
And my 3-year-old is jumping on my head at 6:30.
Oh, my God.
And then this morning, the reason why I dashed back was because I was doing a talk at Trinity School for some kids there, some young people who are like looking at career choices and options and things like that. So I was just like, so you can imagine, I'm sat here. Yeah. Anyway, because we're here, we can do what we want. So we can finish the show at the actual time that we want to finish it. So, yeah.
That is just the worst.
Traumatic.
Yeah.
So traumatic. Yeah. So my car, his car, journey time, I ended up, and I'm not 100% yet, right? So I'm still like not, I need like rest and recuperation as opposed to like stress and all of that. So
and it is so stressful, Ammar. It's just really difficult. But unfortunately, again, it seems to be a part of just
life, isn't it?
Journey, yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm just
I think
gonna go and stay at home.
And living has just changed so much over the last couple of years, and unfortunately, you know what we've said so many times. Hey, what was wrong with the good old days? Because it hasn't changed. I think it's changed by design, and I think it's really, really sad that some people are thinking that this is nice for humanity when they know it's not. They're just trying to cause a lot of trouble, and let's hope that, you know, one day we can have our beautiful lives back as they were.
Yeah.
Because we're very fortunate that we live in this world with so much goodness that there is. But unfortunately, there seems to be the darker side of that we're living through at the moment. But hopefully the light will always be there for us.
Fight the light.
Fight for the light.
Fight the light. Hey, power to the people. Rise up. Yeah, I'm sure that's you get incitement to whatever, and people like say anything. Well, no, Donald Trump's interesting, isn't it? There's some great articles about him. They keep coming after him, Jack. They keep, and it's like court case after court case after, like they're just trying to prevent him from running as the president. I just find that incredible.
Look, I think we should finish. Maybe we can't really finish the show without talking about what's happened over the last couple of days, because with the somebody has gone up and blown a Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2. If those that don't know what they are, it's basically the gas pipe from Russia to Europe, and Nord Stream 2, which is they spent £10 billion on, equally shared between Russia and Germany. It was never coming to fruition. They didn't start the pipes because the Americans stopped it. I mean, how it's their business when America's, where they are, and where Germany is where they are. But anyway, that's what happened. And yesterday, both of them were blown up. Obviously, no one's taking responsibility. They're trying to say that the Russians are...
Well, obviously, they're going to say that.
Yeah, I mean, the Russians are not going to block the own pipe, and they've got control of it on a switch of a button. But anyway, the consequences of that, imagine that the industry in Germany, the farmers or whoever else significantly import certain, it's going to affect all of us so significantly over the next few weeks and months. Stop farming, stop an industry, because it means that anything that you need from Germany, whether it's a part for your car, or to get your car back up and running, all of those things are going to be severely impacted and affected. Well,
here's the thing, very quickly, right? Because I'm just conscious we have like really ran over now, but very quickly, it's talking about cars and parts and things like that. I was talking to someone, right, on one of our programs. So we deliver the best accelerator, scale, investor readiness, business support programs in the world, and we're recognized to do that. So reach out to smecofe.com if you want to find out more. But anyway, I was talking to someone on one of the programs, and she'd ordered a Tesla, Jeff, right? She'd ordered a Tesla last year, and she then found out she was meant to get it at the end of this year, but then got a call saying it's ready now, it's going to come. So she priced up some insurance, and it was like £1,200. And then at that time, and then she thought, all right, I'll wait until I know I've definitely got it. She then got it and went to insure it, and it was £25,000 to actually, she couldn't get it insured to start with. And she spoke to an insurance broker and she said, well, what's happened here? And they're like, well, insurance companies, right, don't want to insure Teslas because you can't get the parts for them. Right? So what? And the reason why they don't want to insure them now is because if there's anything wrong with it, they have to give you an equivalent car, and they might have to end up giving you a Tesla for 6 months or 12 months because you can't get for the new cars. So there's no serviceable parts and things like that.
Yeah.
So then she ended up having to pay £14,000 for an insurance policy, and that was an all-car business insurance policy. So she was insured to drive any car. But isn't that? And that's just an example of you don't know what you don't know.
Turmoil that exists in the current economic climate.
Crazy. Anyway, you've been listening to Ammar and
Jalf.
We'll be back next week. We might even start getting back into here if we can try it. But anyway, be safe, be happy, try and